I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer the question, not the churchy answer, but the real answer. Have you ever been the most powerful person in the room and still gotten on your knees for somebody who did not deserve it? No? Yeah, me neither. That's why we need Jesus. And he did exactly that. And I'm going to show you what it looked like and why it should wreck every single thing that you think you know about strength. Our text is in John 13:3, and it says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going to God. Now, what we notice about this verse is three things. John gives us three facts about Jesus in this one verse. The Father gave all things into his hands, he came from God, and he was going back to God. So in translation, Jesus knew exactly who he was, exactly where he came from, exactly where he was going. He had zero identity crisis, zero performance anxiety, zero need for anybody in that room to validate him. Now watch what happens, because the very next thing that John writes is this. He rose from supper and laid aside his garments, took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. The most powerful being to ever walk the face of this earth got on the floor with the full knowledge of who he was. I need to say something that's going to step on some toes, so I apologize in advance. Actually, no, I don't need to apologize. Here we go. There's a lot of people walking around with a calling on their life who have confused the anointing with an excuse to stop serving. You got one prophecy at a conference in 2019 and suddenly you don't want to wash dishes anymore. You got a title and now you need people to treat you a certain way before you'll pour into them. You got a platform. Now you will only show up for the people who can do something for you. That ain't anointing. That's insecurity that's wearing a crown. John Bevere said it, and I love John Bevere. I've watched him for years. You cannot truly humble yourself until you first secure yourself in who you are. John 13:3 is the proof of that. Jesus didn't get low because he didn't know his worth. He got low because he knew his worth. Secure people serve. Insecure people perform. Secure people will wash feet. Insecure people need their feet washed first. Somebody needed to hear that one. Power didn't make Jesus proud. Identity didn't make him cold, and knowing didn't make him untouchable in any way. All things were in his hands, and he used those hands to get on the floor for 12 men who were about to fail him spectacularly. Now, Judas was in that room. He wasn't standing outside or he wasn't standing in a hallway. He was in that room, sitting at the same table, eating the same bread, sharing the same cup, probably nodding along like everything was fine, right? And then Jesus in verse 11 knew. John made sure that we understood that Jesus knew who would betray him. Listen. For he knew who would betray him. Therefore he said, you are not all clean. He knew Judas had already made that deal. 30 pieces of silver. Already counted it out. Already figured out the plan. Yet, Jesus picked up that wash basin and he washed Judas's feet as well. Now, I don't know who you're thinking about right now. I don't know whose face just flashed right across your mind. Maybe it's the person who smiled at you on Sunday and then turned around and talked about you on Monday. The person who said they were your friend and then became your headline. The one who took everything that you poured into them and then used it right against you. Jesus washed their feet too, not because they deserved it, not because he was naive, not because he didn't feel the sting of what they were doing, His obedience was not contingent on their loyalty. That's a word that you can write down. His obedience was not contingent on their loyalty. Your calling does not pause because people aren't faithful. Your assignment doesn't expire because somebody betrayed you. Your anointing does not dry up because a Judas was at your table. He washed the feet, went to the cross, rose on the third day, and Judas didn't derail any of it. So whoever your Judas is, they don't get to stop yours either. Bounce back to verse 3 one more time. I need you to see something. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going to God. That word knowing in Greek, eidos, it's not casual. It's not a Sunday morning surface kind of knowledge. This is a knowing that has gone so deep into the bones of who you are that absolutely nothing can shake it out of you. See, Jesus knew exactly where he came from, so there wasn't a single person that could tell him who he was. Jesus knew where he was going, so no cross could be his ending. Jesus knew what he carried, so no betrayal could ever break the assignment on his life. The knowing was the weapon. Let me ask you, do you know? Do you know who sent you? Do you know whose blood is on your life? Do you know that before the foundations of this earth, your name was already in his mouth? The enemy's entire strategy, his entire playbook, is to keep you from knowing, keep you dizzy, keep you performing, keep you chasing the approval of people that God never assigned to validate you, keep you so focused on what you don't have that you forgot what is already in your hands to steward. But when you know where you came from, when you know where you're going, when you know what you carry, you can pick up a wash basin. You can love a Judas. You can walk to the cross, and you can laugh at a sealed tomb. I want to close with just this one thing, the very end of John 13, verse 1. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. To the end. Not to the point where it got inconvenient, not to the point where it started failing him, not to the point where the cross got too heavy, but to the end. Peter was in that room about to deny Jesus 3 times. Thomas was in that room about to doubt the resurrection altogether. Judas was in that room about to go sign Jesus' death warrant. And the rest who were in that room were about to scatter like the wind. And he washed every single one of their feet. Every single one. So if you're watching and you feel like you've failed too big or you've ran too many times, you've doubted too long, take it from somebody who thought the same thing. The very same Jesus who washed Judas's feet, knowing full well what Judas was about to do, I promise you, he knows your name. And he knows every time that you have ran, and he knows the version of you that nobody else gets to see. He's still on his knees. Not because you deserve it, because you don't. Not because you finally figured it out, because I bet you haven't. And it's not because you've got yourself figured out and you've got yourself together, because I bet you don't. That's just who Jesus is. He loved them up until the very end. And you, my friend, you are not at that end yet. Let God be your strength.